since COVID started, like I've seen such awful behavior in on public transit, um, even outside, anywhere, honestly. Um, okay, see, I understand, like, some people don't want to wear masks, right? But what harm will do if you do wear a mask? It's gonna protect you and your family. Let's say you have, I'm pretty sure everybody has grandparents. You want to see grandparents? Well, you better not like contract something. And what can you do to prevent that? To wear a mask. It's not gonna do anything. You go into a store, you want to get a coffee, just wear a mask. Well, that's why I don't understand why people make such a big deal about wearing a mask. Whether you agree or not, it's just gonna make your life much easier. Like again, we're all in this together. It's not just you by yourself. You have other people to think about.
Yeah, yeah, guys, please wear your mask. Like I
He
wear your mask.
already has one handy.
I do. I even like I make sure every jacket that I have, I slip an extra mask in there just in case. Like I forget and I'm walking out the door.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was grabbing some food the other day, and like one of the workers. Like I was on the phone talking, and she came over to me and she's like, "Excuse me, can you put on your mask?" And I didn't realize I had my mask pulled down on my chin from when I
Yeah.
walked in, and I felt like shit. I actually felt so terrible because I understand what they see, and it's like my simple mistake, my lapse of judgment was now putting people in a position of anxiety, and it's like they don't deserve that. I shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't know people who clout chase and they're just trying to like not wear a mask so they can get a video or a reaction. To me that's so
Mm-hmm.
odd. Like why would you want to live your life over something as insignificant as like not wearing a mask, even if it means putting someone at ease? Put on your mask.
That's
That's
why,
all we're
yeah.
asking. Put on your mask.
That's why I said at the beginning, like you see people for who they are. Especially with COVID, it's about being together in this to like being all of this will resolve faster if we're in it together. But because of the government, again, I don't want to get too political, but because of the government and the way they're handling, especially in Toronto, everyone's just divided. You
Yeah,
know,
for real.
I don't agree ruling, a city or a province through fear, but people need to understand like there are doctors and nurses and caretakers and caregivers and elderlies. It's not just yourself. Yeah, for me, I honestly like I wish COVID would just end as soon as possible, but you need to start thinking about other people, and that's the reason why we're still in a lockdown is because people are so, no offense, selfish. They don't put other people first. It's always about me, me, me. That's if it's all about me, then we're gonna have this lockdown till next year. you
Oh
know,
my god, I really hope not.
that tells me like this pandemic shows like like what kind of person, like who they truly are. you know, like they say, oh, everyone wants to be the best person for everybody or for themselves. But again, you can say something, but you're actually, if you don't, like, I respect somebody who doesn't say anything, who is super quiet. Maybe not, they're not comfortable talking up and they're not very outspoken. But if I watch their action and observe their behavior, ooh, like would respect that person 10 times more than a person that just talks and doesn't follow through what they say. You know,
I feel you on that. Emily, this is a bit of a sensitive topic, but I'm hoping
okay,
that you can provide some insight on it and how you
okay,
feel and what you think.
yeah, shoot. What was the question?
There has been a lot of violent acts towards people of Asian descent.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we've seen it happen to young people. We've seen it happen to older people. We've seen it happen to the elderly, which is absolutely disgusting. And
Truthfully, yes.
it's not even just the physical violence, but it's also you see it online, and like you said, we're seeing people's true colors come out now in
Mm-hmm.
comments where you see someone will post a video trying to bring awareness of this incident that may have happened to someone, and then you'll find in the comments and the people on their main pages, they're ready to try and detract and try to like deviate from what's actually at hand, and they
Mm-hmm.
it seems like they're even like possibly justifying the attacks, or like, to me it doesn't make any sense because like, and I say this as clearly a black person, I've
Yeah.
I've seen what it's like when someone hurts you because of something that they've seen on the news, or something that they think that you're a part of, or you're trying to be a detriment to society. And
Mm-hmm.
it hurts me, especially in Toronto, because I grew up with many Asian people, many different people of Asian descent. I've lived in Montreal as well, and
Yeah.
there's an Asian culture there too, and they're just like us. Like, obviously we look different, but at the end of the day, we all eat, sleep, breathe, and shit the same way. Like, there's no reason to have some sort of like bias towards someone who is Asian and then try to mask it as something else. And I've seen that done with not just individuals, but also with the media and authority figures, as we've unfortunately seen. But
Mm-hmm.
I want to ask you, because I feel that, like, while we do need camaraderie amongst the races so we
Yeah.
can get past this, I think it's more important for someone who is Asian themselves to actually have that podium and speak up about how they feel and what they think they can, like, or what we can all do to move past this and overcome this, and maybe what even started all of this. Because racism has always existed, but 2 3 years ago I could go to, anywhere in Toronto, and obviously Toronto has a very strong Asian centric
Mm-hmm.
community, and
Yeah.
you wouldn't find this. Now we're in lockdown, and I'm seeing people who I've met in the club scene, or people who I've met through the music scene, saying some extremely questionable things towards Asians. And it's like, was this the energy you always had? Is this something that's come up over the lockdown? Like, I don't know what it is, but do you think you could possibly clarify how you feel about this?
So honestly haven't seen or heard. Again, I don't. I had the last few weeks I haven't really read the news, but I have seen
That's
a
a good call, by
lot.
the way.
I mean, like, reading the news sometimes, if you don't pay attention, it could really be detrimenting because they try to rear you towards like uh, their way of thinking. You know what I mean? It's that's why that's why I for me if I read something, I try my best to stay centered, not to veer towards like being biased or whatever. But from what I've seen, a lot of these incidents have been happening in the states. Um, and honestly, the first one was the Thai elderly man when he was just walking and suddenly out of nowhere, some guy comes out of the car or the corner of the camera and pushes the man, literally went set him flying. And I don't understand why are they targeting elderly people? What have they done to them? I understand with this whole COVID situation um, that they're everyone's scared because everyone's life is affected. But I think it's because also Trump. Again, I don't want to get political, but he did state it as like a was it China virus or something,
Yeah.
and I think that also was what accelerated these incidents as well. Um, I honestly, I can't even explain. Like, okay, so all these incidents happened for Chinese New Year, which is on February the 12th. And to hear and see things like this happen on that day, for me and for other Asian descents, Chinese New Year or Lunar New Year is the time you spend with family. We don't necessarily spend a lot of time on New Year's itself, but for us, Lunar New Year means everything. It means family, meeting your grandparents, your distant relatives, and for them to have a family member missing, not even there anymore, because all of these violent acts, I could not even like put into words like the amount of distress they're feeling. I think that again with the COVID, it's only been separating people, and again, these people that are committing these acts, I think that they're tired. They're tired because they just want their life back. I think they all the frustration, maybe their family issues, Maybe they're behind in their mortgage or they're behind in paying bills. I think all of this plays a factor on why they committed these actions. I'm not saying this is a justification because I think it's absolutely absurd. Earlier this week, this elderly man passed away, or two elderly Chinese women passed away, and then they said that they justified it by saying, "Oh, this person had a bad day." So you're saying that everyone has a bad day, could go out and shoot somebody up or kill somebody.
That's ridiculous. Breaks my heart to
If
hear that.
yeah, and how could you go into court and use that as a justification? I'm no lawyer, but if you bring that to court and that stands, I'm questioning the judge himself or
Yeah.
herself,
Yep.
you know, and things. And honestly, how it's not even just the elderly. Like I remember a situation where I think it was a month ago, two little kids were kidnapped. They were found safe, but why would you bring the elderly and the kids? I'm not religious, and if I am, my family is Buddhist, so I know a little bit about Christianity, but you should never, when it comes to harming anyone, children and women are the people that you should not do harm. How,
First to
like,
be
honest,
protected, never to be harmed.
yeah, no, exactly. How can you? Honestly, I don't know if it's a psycho. I can't say it's a psychological thing because if it's a psychological thing, um, and it brings up to court and it holds, why you can't say that it's a psychological thing for all these incidents. It's it would be debatable if it was just one person who committed this one crime. You've seen all these serial killers, like that's different. But this is like so many set of different individuals targeting the elderlies. There is no, the spectrum is so large of who they target. They don't stop. They don't stop for anyone. But if in my head when I saw this news, I was like, of all people, how could you harm the elderlies? Would you harm your own grandmother?
There's lack of clarity with everything, and people
Yes.
are consuming media based off of what sits with them the easiest.
Yeah.
I've always thought that it's good if you read everything from both sides. I'm not saying you have to
Mm-hmm.
be 50-50 centralist or whatever, but it's always important to dig a little deeper, go outside of your comfort zone to get more information on what's happening around you, especially when it's such a topic at the magnitude of what this is, which is a pandemic, which is
Yeah.
attacks towards a certain race. I was telling people last year, like, if you consume only what you hear off of certain news outlets with Black Lives Matters, you're not going to get the full picture. You're not going to get
Yeah.
as many sides. There's more than two sides. There's multiple sides. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying you have to go look underneath every single rock, nook, and cranny, but it's important you understand what's being fed to you, because
Mm-hmm.
what's being fed to you could be a part of the greater agenda, whatever it may be. And
Yeah.
I don't claim
100%.
I don't claim to be like an expert on politics or a professional when it comes to health or safety or whatever, but I do understand that reading a newspaper, reading a certain site, or like consuming this sort of media won't tell you the full story, but it also does have a certain angle that's trying to feed you. So you need to
Mm-hmm.
look at what's really happening, and you need to really do your research. But again, like, I'm not an expert.
No, I completely agree. Like, that's why I read the news sometimes just because I do some investments and I want to just make sure, I know where my money's going or like how it's
Smart.
being affected.
Yeah.
Like I don't just blindly like, I want to invest in this or invest in that. Like a lot of entrepreneurs will say that if you want to invest in something, you better know what's going on. Or because if you lose your money, you would understand it. That's why you don't invest with your emotions. Anyways, I don't want to talk about that, but like you said, I don't fully like trust the news. Like like it all comes from some sort of angle, like you said, and from how you read it and how you interpret it will interpret the way you think about it. And like you said, I always, whenever you read something, always try to like read different the same topic, but read it from different articles, and then you can have this like a general sense of what's happening, even though, like you said, you don't lift every single rock and try to figure out what's going on, but everybody has an angle. And especially with mainstream media, I used to listen to CNN a lot, but with COVID and everything, I don't know. I try to stay away from it. Um, just because again, with US politics, it has not that it has nothing to do with us, but it's just like if it doesn't directly impact me or impact my family, I would just at the moment I put it on pause. And especially with Black Lives Matters and everything that's happening with the Asian community, you see these people on social media trying to justify their actions. Um, Again, with Black Lives Matter, like you see all these incidents happening, these violent crimes and acts, and even under the police force, they're trying to justify these actions. And it's like, what? Like, where is a sense of morality in people? Throw away racism, throw away race, black, white, Asian, Hispanic. I don't care. If you were raised right, and if you were raised with religion, say, or faith, you would know what's right and wrong because you would feel like, like you said, guilt. Like you would
Yeah.
know, like, this doesn't feel right. Or a lot of people, what they need to think is like before they talk or before they commit some sort of action, switch it around. How would you feel if somebody did this to you? How would you feel like if obviously I can never picture myself as a black woman, but like you said, we come from a minority. So I understand from where you guys are coming from. We at least with you with the Black Lives Matter, you guys are very vocal about protecting your community. And for Asians, it's only until recently because there's been a lot of people that's their life's been taken away, honestly, and their family's been affected. And that's the only reason. That's honestly not the only reason, but that's the reason why we're now being vocal about it. Because Asians, how to explain it? Like Asians, we're not the kind of people that protest a lot. I think you noticed this already. We're the kind of persons that we're quiet. We're not timid, but we play smart about it. Like but with the Black Lives Matter, because it happens so often, and it's just the history and everything. Like, you know, I understand exactly where the organization's coming from, and I'm glad now the Asian community is getting together. You see all these little small local organizations going around volunteering to protect the Chinatown in, I don't know, in California, making sure, the elderlies are not getting their shops attacked or robbed or whatever. Like, it's gone to the point where people are voluntarily doing things because they know what's wrong. How, like, how can you,
Yeah.
how, I don't understand. You're going to wake up one day and say, oh, I'm going to take a life of an elderly person. Or you're just driving by and you see some elderly man or woman on the side or some kid. You're like, I'm going to go I'm going to go, I don't think it wasn't even a planned attack. I personally think it was like on a whim. But again, with COVID and the restrictions and everything, I think all of that played an impact on why they acted the way they did.